Hello everyone, and welcome to Secrets Behind the Stars. Settle in, because every twist and whisper is right here. If you enjoy following the real stories behind the glitter, tap subscribe, share this video with your friends, and stay with us till the end. Thank you for being here. Sema Arda, whose private life has been the subject of curious speculation for months, finally let the guard down and spoke from the heart. The acclaimed actress opened up about Gökberk Yıldırım, a figure who now stands at the center of both her career and her most intimate world. In her words, he isn't just a person in her life, he's the turning point. He brought me back to who I am, she said, and with that one sentence, the entertainment world snapped to attention, uncovering a side of their relationship that had stayed out of frame until now. Cemre confessed that she had spent a long stretch suppressing her own feelings while racing from project to project. The endless shooting days, the tight call times, the responsibilities piling up, somewhere in that rhythm, a softer voice inside her grew quiet. She admitted that the pace was thrilling, but it sometimes pulled her away from herself. There were evenings when she couldn't even remember the last time she'd simply paused to feel anything. Then came Gökberk. And the center of gravity shifted. She describes the change not as fireworks, but as a steady glow. What they share goes far beyond romance, it is a pact of understanding. Some people walk beside you without noise, but they remind you of every piece you'd misplaced, she explained. Gökberk became that steady presence for me. With him, life looked less like a storm and more like a horizon. That sentiment swept across social media in hours, with admirers echoing her words and turning their bond into the day's most talked about story. Cemre also admitted that in the most hectic phase of her career, appearing perpetually composed felt like an obligation she didn't remember agreeing to. People expect you to be fine, always, she shared. But there are days when you just want to let your shoulders drop and breathe. He was the one who told me I didn't have to perform strength. It was a rare glimpse of her unguarded self, the kind she usually keeps tucked away from bright lights and booming microphones. Beyond the emotional steadiness, she revealed how their connection sparks her creativity and sharpens her craft. They seek quiet where they can, stepping away from noise the moment the set wraps. We find value in the simple things, she said. We'd rather sit together and let the silence talk than get swallowed by a crowd. In those pauses. Over tea, on a balcony, on a dimly lit street after midnight, she rediscovers voice and vulnerability. Together, they choose a life that favors sincerity over spectacle. Fans welcomed this openness with enthusiasm, praising not only her honesty but the balance they project as a pair. The gossip pages, hungry for a new angle, rushed to spotlight her confession, framing it as a headline moment. Yet the conversation quickly became bigger than a single quote. Viewers debated whether her words were a declaration of love or a declaration of self, many deciding it was both. That specific line, about finding her way back, sounded less like a dramatic flourish and more like a slow, steady healing. Her revelations didn't stop there. Cemre described how their bond has deepened over time, becoming a mirror that helped her face the parts of herself she'd been avoiding. It isn't simple to make peace with your flaws, she admitted, but he is the person who doesn't flinch when I show them. With Gökberk, she feels accepted without footnotes. That freedom, she said, has shaped her choices, refined her instincts, and reminded her that growth is a continuous act, not a performance. She didn't ignore the obvious pressures, either. The relentless nature of the industry means every setback can be magnified and every smile can be misread. She acknowledged that a relationship in the glare of public attention is tested in ways most couples never see. Rumors multiply, misunderstandings snowball, and headlines thrive on doubt. And still, they learn to meet the noise with quiet. We decided not every accusation deserves our energy, she said calmly. Their silence isn't surrender, it's strategy, and to them, it's strength. With time, Cemre realized her life feels more grounded with him. She described feeling simple in the best way possible, more authentic, more at peace. She no longer sees success and serenity as opposing forces, instead, she now treats her inner stillness with the same care she gives her scripts. The relationship taught her the texture of small moments, mornings unhurried by alarms, Dinners cooked without fuss, long walks where the city fades and conversations stretch. Patience, presence, and the power of a softer pace began to anchor her days. Her openness offered fans a window into the kind of transformation that doesn't usually make it into trailers. She talked about past periods of uncertainty, about losing her footing and how those experiences sharpened her appreciation for her present. With Gökberk beside her, she feels whole in a way that makes the noise feel less urgent. A real partnership, she believes, is made from empathy as much as affection. It's listening for what isn't said, choosing patience over reaction, and finding room for the other person's storms. Of course, the reaction was immediate and wide-ranging. Some corners of the internet pondered their sincerity, arguing about what is genuine and what is show. But the majority read her words as a brave acknowledgement of the work love requires. Younger fans especially saw her as more than an actress in a spotlight. They saw a woman meeting herself honestly and inviting them to do the same. Her vulnerability didn't shrink her image, it made it clearer. She continued by reflecting on what hardship taught her. Pain gave context to joy. Every relationship teaches you something, she mused. With the right person, the lessons come wrapped in warmth. You change together, and somehow it feels lighter. She spoke with the calm authority of someone who has lived the theory and learned its cost. Nothing about her tone was flashy, it was careful, measured, and sincere. Balance remains her compass. Between scripts, rehearsals, interviews, premieres, and the blur of everyday obligations, she leans on the steadiness they've created. With Gökberk, deadlines feel less like cliffs and more like steps. They complement each other in the practical ways too, reminding each other to eat, to rest, to stop reading comments. Cemre doesn't shy away from admitting mistakes to him. She shares them freely, certain that the conversation will end with a deeper understanding, not a ledger of faults. That transparency, she says, makes the bond feel durable. There are the quiet rituals that keep them close, late nights with marked-up pages, coffee finished before dawn, shared playlists for drives that stretch into nowhere, phones turned off because the moment deserves their attention. They linger at the edges of gatherings, slipping out early to find a shaded street where the city's hum evaporates. When they go missing from the public eye, it isn't drama, it's maintenance. Protecting what matters sometimes means giving it space to breathe. People in the industry notice everything, and the whispers vary. Some caution that love and work are a risky mix. Others applaud the boundaries they set. Cemre and Gökberk are careful to avoid the easy trap of turning affection into content. They don't trade their private life for clicks, don't choreograph displays for attention. The feeling is real enough that it doesn't require packaging. They keep the most meaningful parts away from flares and lenses. She recalled a difficult season when the narrative around her started to spin out of her control. Headlines made her feel trapped in a version of herself that wasn't true. One evening, before a major event, her hands shook. Backstage, Gökberk held her fingers and said, "You don't have to carry this alone." She stepped out, took the stage, and spoke with a clarity that surprised even her. Later, when she accepted a trophy, she dedicated it to anyone who had ever lost their way and managed to return. The room rose in a wave of applause, and something in her settled. In the days after her interview, commentary turned into a chorus. Some praised the vulnerability. Others dissected it. But beneath the noise, there was a quieter story unfolding, of a woman who once felt she had to be impenetrable now recognizing that softness isn't weakness. With him, she learned that steadiness doesn't mean stagnation, it's a posture that allows growth. They don't pretend the world is kinder than it is. They simply choose not to let it define what they have. As her words continued to circulate, they began to sound like an invitation. Look closely, she seemed to say, and you'll see the work behind the love, the conversations late into the night, the compromises nobody sees, the boundaries that protect even when they're inconvenient. The tabloids may call it a confession, she calls it a recalibration. This isn't a fairy tale, not really. It's two people deciding, again and again, to be on the same team. And so we come to today, where the storyline is less about scandal and more about sincerity. Sema Arda stands beside Gökberk Yıldırım with the steadiness of someone who has tested the edges and chosen the center. She feels rooted, not because everything is perfect, but because they're willing to stay through the imperfect parts. If her message resonates, it's because so many people know what it's like to be praised for strength when all they want is permission to exhale. She found her breath where she least expected it, in a quiet love, steady as a heartbeat. That's where we'll leave it for now. If you felt closer to the truth after hearing this, remember to subscribe to Secrets Behind the Stars and share this video so more people can join the conversation. We'll be here with more stories that look past the glitter and into the glow. Until next time, take care and stay curious.